white Tamil. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa.
And to give you a sense of scale, this is more than the number of people who speak Italian.
Vanakkam makale. Welcome back to another episode of Dad's Den. Here's something else for you. Vanakkam de Mapla, Los Angeles, La Arunda. Or Arunda. Okay? Hopefully I said that right. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Today's reaction is going to be from a Patreon request. So if you want to know more about being a Patreon, basically what it is you can sign up. There's down in the description, there's a place to sign up for Patreon. You can click on that, says special member benefits. Click on it and it'll tell you how you can become a Patreon, okay? And by being a Patreon, you get special benefits like this. You get to request a video. Today's request comes from Banamati, who is a new Patreon of Dad's Den, and he wanted me to do a reaction to this, and it actually looks really, really interesting. It's in from 2016, and it looks like when the Harvard chair was given to somebody, the Tamil language. Anyway, this says this was when Tamil got a Harvard chair in 2016. There was mixed reaction to the chair, and appreciation of language, and the speech is amazing. So anyway, let's just watch it. Let's enjoy it. I don't care about all the drama behind it. I just want to enjoy it. So anyway, let's watch. Let's enjoy. Thank you for being a Patreon. I appreciate all of my Patrons. You guys are amazing. We have 9 now. 9 Patrons here. Incredible. Anyway, here we go.
And inviting my great friend Jonathan to come here and talk. Why Harvard? Why Tamil? Why?
The white Tamil. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa.
அன்பிற்குரியவர்களே, அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம்.
Hey. Malay vanakkam. I know that.
Samosa சாப்பிட்டீங்களா? I'm going to speak in English, so I'm getting a little Tamil out before I start. Greetings, everyone. My name is Jonathan Ripley, and I teach Tamil at Harvard University.
Oh, he's a teacher.
Thank you all very much for coming, and thank you, Dr. Sambandam, for inviting me to speak today. I'm so happy to be speaking about Tamil and Providence, my birthplace, and the land of many of my ancestors. In Tamil, the word for this is Sondaur. So Providence is my Sondaur. And
he was born there?
You know, this is kind of crazy for me because at one time in my life, Providence and my Sondaur and Tamil felt like so far apart from each other. But now here I am in Providence speaking about Tamil. In my opinion, Tamil language and literature are among the world's most valuable treasures. But despite this fact, Tamil remains underappreciated and understudied.
So what I'm learning
today,
I'm
going to speak with you about this wonderful language and some of the ways that it has captivated my heart since
somebody's got to help him out with his hair right there.
20 years ago.
Just saying. Love this guy.
A brief overview
Gotta
of
fix
the
his hair.
language and its key characteristics. I'll speak about some specific examples from modern Tamil to give you a sense for the spirit of the language, and I will conclude with some comments about the importance of instituting a Tamil professorship or chair at Harvard University. I began studying Tamil when a 2-year fellowship took me to India after college. At the time, my grandmother, who lived in Providence, was not very happy. She couldn't understand why I wanted to go to India. She used to say, "Why can't you study French or Italian instead?
Boring.
Why do you have to study Tamil?" Despite her misgivings, my experience in India marked a turning point in my life, and I've been connected to Tamil in some capacity ever since. Let me start by laying out some of Tamil's defining characteristics. It is spoken by over 70 million people worldwide, and to give you a sense of scale, this is more than the number of people who speak Italian, and just behind the number of people who speak French, Korean, and Vietnamese. It has official language status in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu, as well as in Sri Lanka and Singapore.
Yep, I knew that.
Its writing system is syllabic, consisting of 12 vowels, 8 consonants, and 247 possible letter combinations.
Oh my gosh.
Tamil is diglossic, which means that its written form is very different from the language that people speak on a day-to-day basis. and Tamil has an uninterrupted connection to a classical past with a vast literary corpus. And all of these are very important details, but they're only part of the story. This is because Tamil language is inextricably linked to a set of cultural practices and values that have been evolving for a very long time. Tamil has a spirit that is much more than grammar, vocabulary, and syntax.
That's what I'm learning, dude.
Tamil language and literature embody wisdom about how to live meaningfully in the world, providing insight into a wide spectrum of topics, including spirituality, science, ethics, and love. I first lived in Tamil Nadu after college. I had a 2-year fellowship to live in a small city called Madurai, which was mentioned earlier, where I taught English to young adults living with physical disabilities.
Oh.
My favorite part of the experience by far was practicing my Tamil. I zipped around the city in my scooter, taking every opportunity to use the language that I could, in shops and in restaurants, with new friends and with my students. I had ample opportunity to practice and encouragement from people who were genuinely touched that I wanted to learn their language. In the intense heat of Madurai, with its vibrant sights, sounds, and smells, I began to glimpse some of Tamil's wisdom during the most basic conversational exchanges. I'll give you some examples of what I mean. When I first moved to Madurai, I was in a new place, meeting lots of new people, so my American instinct to be polite kicked in. I said please and thank you when appropriate, as I thought. This is how I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
My mom taught me, my mom and dad, they're here in the audience. Just as I thanked all of you for coming here today, I was thanking people. However, my attempts to use my American practice of politeness failed miserably in Tamil Nadu. I was shocked after thanking a friend for passing me a plate of food when we were eating lunch. He reacted unhappily, and he asked me not to thank him. He said, "Nandri solakuda," which means, "You're not allowed to say thank you to me." I was taken aback. He explained that in a true friendship, there is a cohesion of love that is so tight, it leaves no room for politeness and niceties. For my Tamil
That's why
friends,
you guys always tell me.
saying thank you implied formality, distance, and inauthenticity. This flew in
You
the
guys
face
always
of
tell me,
my
don't say
American
thank you, don't
idea
say
of
thank you.
politeness, and I was touched by this special Tamil version of love
Wow.
and the possibility it offered for going deeper into friendships with people.
Wow.
I'll give you another example.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Instances like this made me realize that I would have to quickly unlearn much of what I had held to be fundamentally true about the universe, and that my study of the Tamil language would play an important role in understanding these new ways of being. As hard as it was, I kicked my thank you habit, and I stopped saying thank you.
Oh my gosh, that would be so
In my
hard.
classes at Harvard now, I keep that tradition alive, and my students are not allowed to say thank you in class, so we practice that.
I like that. That's cool.
Another example of this spirit I'm talking about is the way that you say goodbye in Tamil. How do you say goodbye? Poite varen, right? Poite means I'm going to go, and varen means I will come. I will go and return. Yeah?
Okay.
Poite varen. This is special because, and you can even shorten the phrase poite varen to a question which is varatuman, which means shall I return? So when you're leaving, you're never saying I'm leaving, I'm going. You're saying I'm going and I'm coming back.
Oh, I like that.
When you're asking for permission to leave, you don't say may I leave, you say may I return. This practice of language illustrates the importance Tamil places on interrelatedness and connectivity. In this linguistic cultural scenario, no one is ever leaving. They're always on their way back to return.
Oh, I love that.
And
That's
reconnect.
beautiful.
To my American heart, which had grown so accustomed to cold formality and distances, this was a heartwarming realization. I'll give you another example. This is my final one.
These are great.
And it relates to my favorite topic, food.
Yeah.
Tamil cuisine is one of the most delicious cuisines I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the presence of some Tamil folks, I really mean it. I hope that you've all had the chance to try idli, dosa, uttapam, idiyappam, upama, just to name a few. The emphasis on food is evident in Tamil language as well. To say Tamil people show hospitality to their guests is an understatement. And any of you who have ever visited a Tamil home know that it almost always involves food. And I was a very happy, grateful recipient of all of the hospitality that was showered upon me when I lived in Tamil Nadu for those years. But I also learned over the course of visiting people that a very common part of greeting them had to do with food. People will say the usual greetings, "Hi, how's everything? How are you doing? Is everybody well in your life? Have you eaten?" And so there's this question that was tagged on that I wasn't quite used to. I wasn't used to people asking me about whether or not I had a meal before I arrived. You know, in Tamil we would say, "Nalla irukingla, eppadi irukkinga, veetla ellarum nalla irukangala, saaptingla?" Saaptingla means, have you eaten? Saaptacha? Saapta.
Something like?
These are
something like?
just some examples.
Something like.
Oh, and so, sorry, when I realized this, I was taken aback. But I realized that this practice of asking whether or not you've eaten points to a cultural respect for food, and not just food that you take for yourself, but also the practice of sharing food. Because implicit in the question, "Have you eaten?" is the message, "If you haven't eaten, I will feed you."
Yeah, for sure, that's beautiful.
These are just some examples of
beautiful.
what struck me about the Tamil language. Even with a very rudimentary understanding of it, you can see in a few basic examples that Tamil structure and use reveals a set of cultural values that speak of the importance of friendship, the value of connection, and a deep respect for sharing food. As my language skills improved, I began to read Tamil literature, for which I have since developed a deep appreciation. It is a veritable treasure trove, although it is underappreciated and understudied. There are all kinds of literature in the Tamil corpus, including love poetry, war poetry, treatises on ethics and morality, epics, grammatical treatises, devotional poetry, drama, as well as contemporary Tamil fiction. It's like an ocean, but it's untapped. To give you a taste, I'll share some of the classical love poetry with you that is over 2,000 years old.
Wow, 2,000 years
You
old.
will see, or you'll hear, that it maintains relevance today. Listen to this first love poem from the Sangam period of Tamil literature, in which a woman expresses the grief she feels after separating from her love. The poem, "What She Said." The still drone of the time past midnight, all words put out, men are sunk into the sweetness of sleep. Even the far-flung world has put aside its rages for sleep. Only I am awake.
Wow.
And another poem in the voice of the male lover, which speaks about his pining for his female lover. What he said, "To touch her, that mountain girl, like a doe, sad-eyed, gentle, cut off by archers from the herd in deep forests, with wild whistles and a hail of stones, and now she stands and watches as the brothers of my beloved pull the long blood-stained arrowhead shaped like her eyes, limbed in coal, under the black and fragrant hair from the living heart of the wild stag. Will I ever touch her again?"
Wow.
Despite their age, these poems hum with relevance, beauty, and freshness.
Those are
we can
deep.
relate to even
Some
today.
deep words right there.
With these poems, I'll return
The
to
arrow
topic
in the shape of her eye.
the study of classical Tamil and the Harvard Tamil chair, and I'll finish my comments with this. In the context of academia, the classics have traditionally referred to Greek and Latin literature. Over time, with the diversification of the range of subjects and regions studied in the world, other languages were included in the classical corpus, languages such as Chinese, Persian, and Sanskrit. Tamil, for some reason, has been systematically excluded. This is true even in Tamil Nadu. In fact, Tamil was only just recognized as a classical language by the government of India in 2004. In
Weird.
India, English departments in colleges and universities are flashy with high enrollments and students driving around on fancy motorcycles. But unfortunately, the Tamil departments are often dilapidated and they have much fewer students. The same can be said of American academia. There are disproportionately high numbers of students in Sanskrit class compared to the Tamil classes that I teach. With the efforts of people like Dr. Sambandam and his team of grassroots Tamil activists, the scenario is slowly changing.
That's good. It's good.
Instituting a Tamil professorship at Harvard is one concrete step we can take towards giving Tamil the appreciation it deserves, and also to increase the number of students who take it as their main focus. Professor George Hart from Berkeley declared that Tamil is one of the great classical literatures and traditions of the world because it has the core characteristics of a classical language, as was mentioned earlier. It is of considerable antiquity. It constitutes the only literary tradition indigenous to India that is not derived from Sanskrit, and it has a vast literary corpus that is subtle and profound. Instituting a Tamil chair at Harvard would do a number of things to promote the study of Tamil. It would promote Tamil-related research and study at one of the premier institutions of learning in American academia, increasing the number of scholars working on Tamil. It would contribute to the sustainability of the study of Tamil, as the Tamil chair would exist for as long as Harvard exists. And it would send a message to the world that Tamil is worthy of study, as worthy as Greek, Latin, or any other classical language. You may be wondering, when an institution as wealthy as Harvard, why an institution as wealthy as Harvard requires fundraising to create a chair. After all, Harvard has an endowment of over $36 billion. Why can't they just take some of that money and create the Tamil chair? Unfortunately, this endowment is made up of 12,000 individually endowed funds, which are set aside for specific purposes. And so all of those funds were raised by similar fundraising efforts prior. Unfortunately, 100 years ago, nobody set up an endowment for Tamil studies, and that's why we're doing this now.
So this is in 2016, by the way.
My job as a Tamil instructor is exciting, not only because I love the language and I love to teach it, but because I have the opportunity to contribute to changing attitudes around Tamil's importance and its validity and value as a field of study. Today I've spoken a bit about Tamil, its spirit as I've experienced it, and the importance of supporting the efforts of Dr. Sambandam and others to institute a Tamil chair at Harvard. Tamil, despite its boundless hospitality, has been treated like an unwelcome guest at the academic table. It is high time we extend a warm welcome to Tamil into classical studies with the hospitality and respect it deserves. Nandri.
So that came out in 2016. So now we're looking at 5 years of having a Tamil chair in Harvard. I'm not going to pretend to know what all of that means as far as the Harvard chair and all that stuff. However, I will say this. The more that I learn about the Tamil language, okay, after watching the Tamili series with Hip Hop Tamila, watching some videos on Kiladi and some of the findings that they're finding over there, and just what you guys are teaching me and what you guys are explaining to me, how come this didn't happen earlier? I mean, this is a language that is so old and you would think, okay, let's find the classical languages of the world, right? Let's just go to the oldest ones, and if people are still speaking them, it definitely has to be a classic. Now, I don't know what the definition of a classical language is, but how could this not be one earlier? This is crazy. It's almost like there's some conspiracy theory behind hiding the Tamil language. But anyway, hey, I'm here to help spread it, right? I'm here in the United States. We're talking about the Tamil language here. We're reviewing it. We're spreading the word. More and more people are learning about it, and that's great. And I'm happy to help that. This Jonathan Ripley guy, incredible. I loved hearing him speak. Super intelligent. He was very articulate. He was able to explain things very well. And I loved just how he was telling his stories about the experiences. I would want to listen to him all day talk about those experiences. Just tell me about your experiences there. Oh, dude, it's so cool. I love that part. That was great. Um, Anyhow, wow. Thank you, Baramati, for that. That was a great suggestion. And thank you again for being a Patreon. I really, really appreciate you. I know now that I'm not supposed to say thank you, but I'm going to say it anyway because that's my culture. So thank you, and Nandri. And thank you for all of you guys. If you're still watching right now, you're awesome. You're amazing. Leave a comment if you're still watching right now. I want to see who watched this all the way to the end. That would be incredible. So anyhow, thank you again for that. And yeah, that's it, man. We're going to wrap this up right now. We'll get you, go record a new video, and hopefully I'll see you guys over there. All right, bye.